Alright, so it's been about a month since Tears of the Kingdom released, and I'm finally consistently saying the correct title. But as you can see from the already recorded gameplay, I've also hit a major story milestone. We got our first sage here, Talon. Rito saved, first temple complete. I'm a little surprised he's different from the champions. I was expecting, once again, a temporary assistance when you hit a button, but I guess he's just going to hang out with us here. Wonder what happens when we unlock more of the sages. Are they all just going to follow me, or I'm going to have to swap them in and out between each other? Either way, it'll be nice to have a little help in combat from our sages, because Talon here will attack as opposed to just using his unique ability. But yeah, right now I'm exploring the depths. I thought it was time to get caught up. If I look on the surface, I've got about 4 towers. If I go to the depths, I've only got 2 at the time of starting this. I forget what they were called, but the things that open up the map. So yeah, I guess maybe I'll be going back and forth after I clear a temple of getting caught up here. I don't know, maybe there's more or less of these map unlocks though here, so that's something to consider down the road too as I find that out more. I don't actually really know what the goal is in the depths right now. I mean, there's a lot of Zonite to mine, and there's a lot of post souls to collect. I should also probably find out what those two things are for. I'm sure they've told you, but I already forgot. But even if they're not really worth it, I'm still going to explore and collect them because it's fun. It's one of the best parts about these games. But yeah, as you can see, I am using the light and the seeds that, or I should say, the light from the seeds attached to these arrows. I thought I saw something online that it was recommended to not do this, but arrows are pretty plentiful here, and I'm less scared about using too many of them since it's just general arrows this time. They're not really tied to the elements, where you have several different types to keep track of. And even these seeds, I've got plenty right now. Maybe if I start running low, I'll be a little more conservative and try to find another way to do this, but for right now, I mean, why not use them like this? I'm not really sure what other purpose the seeds at least have, and like I said, we have the arrows to back it up. Getting back, though, to the Wind Temple, it was really fun, actually. As I said, I think I've said before, I was a little worried about the temples, because when you say temple, I think of how they used to be in the 3D games. Don't get me wrong, they were fun, but I feel in this style of game where there's a lot more focus on exploration. I don't know, I didn't like the idea of being sort of stuck in the more puzzly section for a extended period of time, but that doesn't seem to be the case. This was about the size of a divine beast from the last game, which worked perfectly, and it was a fun challenge, and actually making it to the temple was really fun. You were like doing some platforming on all these sky islands. I'm certainly looking forward to doing more of that as the game goes on. But yeah, that section was particularly fun with that thing. I'm not going to spoil anything on the boss, but I will say that it was pretty creative, and I thought it was more fun than, in my opinion, than most of the Ganon fights we had in the Divine Beast. So we're off to a good start there. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they come up with as we go on. If I had one complaint right now, and I've already talked about this a little bit, but sort of exploring the surface a little more, I wish I was finding more caves. Now, granted, I was in a blizzard-strucken area, and it was already stated that one cave was hidden because of the blizzard, so maybe it's just sort of circumstances of the story. But yeah, I wish I was finding, at least at this point, a few more of them in between different areas and that as I travel. I guess another mild complaint I have is that I found an area where there was a mini game with a Goron, and you had to carry a ball as far as you can, but you were using Zonite devices. And my complaint about that is that they showed a lot of them there, most of which I hadn't seen yet. Granted, I think the rockets were I was really close to finding anyway. But I don't know, I'm a little conflicted about that just because I would have more preferred to found them one by one and sort of discover what they do like that rather than, I don't know, finding out by just sort of experimenting to try to do this mini game. I guess that's personal preference. Some people may have preferred this either way, but I guess it was just the wrong place for me to find. Speaking of which, the reason I found the area was because I saw a piece of debris fall from the sky, and I remember they showed in the trailer, or like the presentation, or something before release, someone using Rewind to use that to reach a sky island. But each time I go to one of these things, it's a dud. It just takes me up really far in the sky. Maybe I'm missing something, but it's been a little frustrating just to get nothing out of them so far. Even if you didn't get to a sky island, even if it was just near a big mountain and helped you get to the top really quick or something, I don't know. In general, I am sort of surprised. As I mentioned before, I wasn't sure how useful Ascend was going to wind up being. It's been very useful. It's been one of my most used abilities here. The one that I would say hasn't been used as much is probably Rewind. But that may balance out more as I clear the game, and I hope it does. Something that I thought was particularly cool is the one temple had you make a rocket shield, which was a combination I wouldn't have expected at all, but it would launch you in the air, and like there's a lot of cool, fusing and just different things to build, but I thought that was particularly something I experienced that stood out. In general, I've sort of liked using fuse for some reason, like the weapons, like if you merge two weapons together and they're the same weapon, it'll call it like a traveler's sword, which I think is kind of weird and funny, I guess. But I've kind of been using it like storage, to collect whatever useful items I see around for my shields and my swords, which has been nice. I actually recently came up with a good fuse, though, of putting one of the skeleton arms with a normal weapon, because the skeleton arms were really powerful, but they had the weakness of low durability. But fusing it with another item increases the durability pretty well, and I was able to take out full camps with this really powerful weapon, but without it breaking. So, and sometimes the skeletons even have a weapon equipped when you fight them before you have access to their arm as well. So, as for moving forward, what's kind of weird is I thought in Breath of the Wild, I think they first sort of pointed you towards the Sheikah tribe, and then when you got to the Sheikah tribe, they particularly mentioned the Zora, and then I don't know, on your way to around the Zora missions and that, you would run into a Goron who would fill you on a little bit on what's going on over there, so on and so forth, and that's how you sort of knew the recommended order to do things in. I haven't gotten that yet. I don't know if I should be doing the Gerudo or the Goron next without looking. It looks like most people are recommending doing Goron, Zora, and then Gerudo. But I did also see someone recommend doing Gerudo first because of the ability you get. But then I heard it's also a little tougher, so at the same time, though, that is sort of the one direction I already have a shrine in that, so maybe I'll give it a shot. If it's too difficult, I'll back out and do the Goron instead. I don't know, does the game scale up or does it go by area? Am I going to get there and I'm going to see all the more powerful bokoblins and stuff, as opposed to the weaker red and blue ones I've been seeing so far? Or does the difficulty more have to do with the environment, and then as you progress and get more powerful weapons, then it doesn't even matter where you're at, then you get the more powerful enemies? I don't know. I don't know if I ever noticed how that worked in Breath of the Wild either, but yeah, that's the direction I'm heading, and either after another set amount of time or another milestone in the story, after things built up, we'll discuss more again.